Now look at Part 1.
Part 1.
You will hear a parent discussing his son's school report with his tutor.
First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 6. Now we shall begin. You should answer the questions as you listen, because you will not hear the recording a second time. Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 6.
Good evening, Mr. Jameson. Please sit down.
Good evening. Now, about my son Stephen's report.
Yes, just a minute. Yes, now, what class is he in? Oh, yes, 4E. No, 4A, isn't it?
Yes, that's right. Has he improved this year, Mrs. Hargreaves?
Yes, I think overall, yes. Mind you, there is still room for more improvement in some subjects. Let's see. Maths. Well, the major problem here seems to be his algebra. Apart from that, he's doing much better. Could you help him with this, Mr. Jameson?
Well, to be honest, it wasn't really my best subject at school either.
But the overall exam result was encouraging. 60%.
Yes, and history, I seem to remember a bad report for this last year.
Well, he lacks concentration in the class, and of course this makes it difficult to remember things like dates and names, and a memory is quite useful in a subject like this.
Oh dear. Well, I'll have a word with him when I get home and see what we can do to improve that. And music.
Music, yes. Is he still having guitar lessons?
Yes, every Monday after school.
His music teacher has commented that he doesn't seem to be taking them very seriously.
I think it was just a craze he had, Mrs. Hargreaves. I've noticed that he hasn't been very interested in practicing at home.
And also, he tends to talk a lot in class. I mean, he's very talkative, and he only got 40% in the exam.
Well, nobody in our family is very musical, so I don't expect him to do very well.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 7 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 7 to 10.
Looking at his geography result, though, there has been considerable improvement, 64%.
Yes, I remember him working at home a lot for some sort of project or something on... now, where was it? India, I think? No, on China.
Yes. And it was an excellent piece of work. I saw it myself and was very impressed. And his art classes have also been going better this year.
Yes, he became very interested in pop art after the school and went to the local art gallery to see the pictures there. His bedroom wall is covered with posters from the shop.
Yes, and 58% is not bad for his exam result, considering how low it was last year. And now French. It seems that he has really taken to speaking a foreign language.
We hoped he would, because it's important to know another language these days, isn't it?
Yes, quite.
That's why we paid for him to go to France last Easter, so he could practice more.
Well, it seems to have done the trick. 80% is a very good mark.
Now, Mrs. Hargreaves, I'd just like to ask you one more thing about...
That is the end of part 1.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 2. Part 2.
You will hear a lecture on bird migration.
First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 17. Now, listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 17.
My lecture this evening will focus on the migration of birds. That is, how birds fly in big groups from different parts of the world at certain times of the year. In the first part of the lecture, I'll talk about the reasons why birds migrate, when they migrate, and which parts of the world they migrate from and to. To start with, why do birds migrate? Well, there are two main reasons. One, they migrate to look for food, and two, they travel to parts of the world that are more suitable for breeding. In fact, these reasons are closely linked. As you can imagine, when birds are breeding, they need extra food to feed their young. And in the spring, in the cooler climates of Europe, there is a lot of food for birds, especially insects. So, generally, during the spring, birds fly up from the tropics, which are hot, to cooler climates in the north. They stay there for a few months to bring up their young. And then, when the weather in the north gets cold in the winter, they fly back to warmer climates in the south. Now I'd like to talk a bit about how global warming has affected bird migration. One of the effects of global warming has been to make the spring come earlier in the northern regions of the world. When spring comes early, the plants and insects that birds need to bring up their young are also available earlier. Research has shown that quite a lot of birds have started to migrate earlier because of higher temperatures. But unfortunately for some species, this hasn't been early enough. What I'm saying is that birds that are travelling a long way for breeding may arrive too late to find enough food to feed their young, and their population drops drastically. Scientists are currently researching more about this.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 18 to 20. Now listen and answer questions 18 to 20.
Now, I thought I'd finish by just briefly describing a few different patterns of migration. Migration varies with the type of bird and the area they come from. For example, one kind of migration is partial migration. This means that some birds in a particular species will migrate and others won't. It usually depends on how the weather affects food supplies, and very often happens in the tropics. In another migratory pattern, a bird called an Arctic tern migrates the whole length of the globe, from the North Pole to the south. The Arctic tern travels between 12 and 15,000 kilometres each way when it migrates in a complete circle around the world. It's quite amazing. Right, and lastly, I'd like to mention a pattern which isn't nearly as spectacular, but is very interesting. And this is the way many birds migrate across North America. In this pattern, the birds fly northwards in the west of the country and then back south again in the east. So, if you imagine it, they're actually migrating in a circular pattern, like the hands of a clock, not in a straight line, as we might think.
That is the end of part 2.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 3. Part 3.
Look at this advertisement for a job. Listen to Philip and Anne talking about the job.
First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 26. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 26.
Look, here's one that might interest you.
What is it? Are you sure? The last one you sent me off to was a disaster.
Yes, look. It says they want a junior sales manager, and it looks like it's a big international company. That'd be good. You might get to travel.
What kind of company is it, though?
Let's see. Yes, it's a textile company that seems to import from abroad. That's odd, isn't it? What else? They say the salary is really good. They operate a system of paying you a basic salary and then offering sales commission on top of that. They say it's high. And, oh look, they give you a car to travel round in. Gosh, that's not bad, is it?
Do they say anything about experience?
Let's see. No, they want someone young with ambition and enthusiasm. Oh yes, they want graduates, so that's okay. You've been to university. Now what else? Let's see.
There must be some catch.
No, the only thing is you have to travel. But then that's what the company car's for. Oh, and you have to be able to get on well with other people, because it says you have to be good in a team.
Perhaps I'll have a closer look at that one.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 27 to 30. Now listen and answer questions 27 to 30.
Now, could you tell us more about what you do in your department? I mean, what research are you actually doing at the moment?
We're trying to find out as much as we can about dreams. There's one area that we're particularly interested in at the moment, and that is what we call directed dreaming.
Directed dreaming. What is that exactly?
Let me explain. You know, sometimes, if you're having a dream and you wake up in the middle of it, you can sometimes go back to sleep again and go back to the dream.
Yes.
Well, that is similar to what we call directed dreaming. Now, what I was talking about is a fairly common experience, but real directed dreamers are people who have always complete control over what they dream because they actually know what they're dreaming.
They can dream what they want.
Yes, nearly.
Can anyone develop this ability?
Well, that's one of the things that we would like to find out. At our centre, we have in fact got 3 people who are very reliable and who can have these directed dreams quite regularly.
And what sort of experiments do you do with them?
Well, a few weeks ago, we thought it would be interesting to see if there was any way that these 3 regular dreamers could communicate with each other in a directed dream while they were sleeping. So one night, we arranged for them all to stay at the centre. Then we asked the 3 of them, there were 2 men and a woman, we asked them all to go to a pub that they all knew quite well, down by the river, and asked them if they started dreaming to go down there and try to find each other.
In the dream? Or 3 dreams?
Yes, so they all went off to sleep, and the next morning we interviewed them all separately and asked them what they had seen. The 2 men had had dreams and could remember them, and they both said that they had been to the pub and had seen each other and had had a talk. But also, both of them said that they hadn't seen the woman, and we thought that was a bit odd. And then we talked to her, and she told us that she hadn't had a dream at all that night, or she couldn't remember it anyway.
Fascinating. So both of the men said she hadn't appeared in their dreams, and that was because she hadn't in fact been dreaming.
Yes, though of course it could just be a coincidence. But that's the kind of thing that we're trying to find out more about.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Border. It's been fascinating talking to you.
Thank you.
That is the end of part 3.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 4.
Part 4.
You will hear a local radio program giving information about jobs that are available in the area.
First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now, listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
This is Mandy. Good morning, Mandy. What's up in the employment world this morning?
Well, Simon, this morning I have 5 jobs that have come in, and the first is for a dental assistant. That's located in Tunbridge, and it's 2.5 days a week, Tuesdays, Thursdays and Saturday mornings. You've got to be at least 25, and the salary is £2,080 per annum, and you've got to be experienced. The second opening is for a florist, and this is according to experience as to wage, and the age is open. The job is in Tunbridge Wells, and the hours are from 9 to 6 Monday to Saturday. And because you're working Saturday, you get a day off in the week. Now, as that's a florist, you must be very experienced in all aspects of floristry and capable of working to a very high standard. Previous managerial experience is an advantage, as this job has actually got nice prospects, because there's a possibility of management for the right applicant.
So there's one for someone who's going places. What's next, Mandy?
Next job then, Simon, is an evening job, and it's for a cleaner. The wage is £25 per week and the age is 30 plus. Hours for this, as it's an evening job, 6 to 8:30 Monday to Friday. So that's a nice job for someone who wants to do something in the evening, Simon. They must be fully experienced as an office cleaner, hoovering, dusting and polishing, etc.
And where's that one based?
Oh yes, that one's in Tunbridge. The fourth job we've got lined up is for general catering assistant, based in Paddock Wood. The wage is £48.40 plus full board, so that's full board and it's £48.40. The age is 18 plus, and there are alternate shifts on this job. It's 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. and 11:30 to 7:30 p.m. and the job consists of cleaning, washing up the kitchen, as well as serving in the dining room and all sorts of domestic duties. Experience is not necessary. So for someone who's 18 plus, that's a nice little job there. And here's the punchline: 10 weeks holiday per annum.
Ho ho, I might put in for that myself.
I can just see you up to your elbows in the washing up, Simon. Last vacancy is for an office job. That's secretary and personal assistant based in Tunbridge. The wage is £4,298 per annum. Now, there's a little bit of detail I must give here. It's part-time to start with, 3 days a week for 3 months. So for the part-time, it's 3/5 of £4,298. And then after 3 months, it goes to a full-time job, 9 to 5. That's for someone 21 plus. And the job consists of work as a secretary cum personal assistant to social workers. You need fairly good shorthand and good typing speeds required. And it's also related to clerical work, answering the phone and reception, etc. And because it's working for social workers, you need a responsible attitude and common sense. So if you're interested in any of these jobs, get in touch with Tunbridge Job Centre on Tunbridge 55499 and ask for extension 30. And that's it, Simon.
Thank you very much indeed, Mandy. By the way, that's your day's work done. You can just sit back now and do absolutely nothing.
Wouldn't that be nice, Simon? Haha, if only I could.
That is the end of part 4.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Give it to me.